This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us today. Cathy is with us in Ohio. Today is Domestic Engineering, 5-minute university lessons. Welcome, Cathy.
Hi, Vince. How are you today?
Cathy, really, really well. You know, yesterday I was out in the field with Bam, our son, and we were moving hay. And so it typically takes two people. So we've got rolls of 1,000-pound rolls of hay scattered throughout the field. And the grass, we just had a little bit of rain, so the grass was safe to drive across because it was crunchy for months because we haven't had any rain at all. But we had a little tiny bit. And so we decided that we were going to move the hay to an area where we could stage it to feed the cows for the winter. So I was in a pickup truck attached to a 16-foot trailer, and he was on the tractor with a spear in the back to grab a bale in the back of the tractor, back into it, pick it up, and then a front end loader with spears on the front, and he could pick up one bale at a time in the front too, and then he could lift the bale onto the trailer, and they'll go get another bale, and so that's what we do, and we put 4 bales across this 16-foot long trailer, and then we put 3 bales on top of the 4 bales that are on the first row. So it's 2 stories, 4 bales on the first level, and then 3 bales on top of them. Then we drive it over to the area where we're going to unload it, and for storing for the winter. So we have multiple fields, and that's the way we do it. And we took a break after doing it. Now the trailer that I was using, we bought brand new in Virginia in 1990. So the trailer is 35 years old. And it's been outside ever since it was manufactured. So it's painted, and the paint job is fabulous. It's been outside for 35 years. And, it's got little chips of rust, but it's not rusted through. It is very heavy, very well made, and it can hold 8,800 pounds. So I was hauling that trailer, and that trailer's been back and forth to Virginia. It's got to have, 20,000 miles on it, on the highway, and lots of miles on it across the bumpy fields. It's in outstanding condition, and it's never been inside. It's always been outside. I can put a big tractor on it and haul that, and the pickup truck we were using is a 1999 Dodge Ram pickup truck, just a 1,500, half-ton pickup truck, 4-wheel drive. So I was in the pickup truck, and when Bam, we were done, I looked at Bam and I said, Bam, would you take $5,000 for this trailer? And he looked at me and he said, no. Now, I paid $1,500 for that trailer in 1990. $1,500. It's been used all these years. It's been outside for 35 years, and he would not take $5,000 for it, and neither would I. And then I said to him, man, would you take $5,000 for this 1999 Dodge pickup truck with, almost 200,000 miles on it? Maybe more than 200,000. He said, no. Well, I said, so why? He said, well, we couldn't get a trailer that good for $5,000, and we couldn't get a pickup truck, that'd be reliable for $5,000. Now, so the point is, that is absolute proof that the older products, like that Dodge pickup truck and like that old trailer, are way better built than the new ones. So I just wanted to share that story. Cathy, are you finding that people want to keep their old things, like their older vehicles, like their older trailers, like their older lawnmowers, like They're older drills, pretty much everything, tools.
I do. Vince, it's funny you mentioned it. We've been having the wonderful task of cleaning out our barn. We're taking everything out because it has to be, we're trying to get the floor leveled. So we came across an old leaf sweeper, and it's probably 30, 40 years old. Now, we don't use it here because the wind blows all the leaves away. And it's been sitting there. Nobody wanted it. So we put it on Facebook Marketplace, and the woman that came out was thrilled. She said, the one that I have is plastic, and it keeps breaking. She goes, this is steel. She was thrilled to get it. But it's to the point that we have to get rid of some things that we just never use. So it hasn't been used in like 30-some years. I don't think we're going to use it here. Anyway, Vince, it's exactly what you're saying. The old stuff, it's so funny when I talk to people, they'll say, I have this old refrigerator. I think I'll just get a new one. And I'll just say, they're meant to break in 3 to 5 years, don't you? The new ones. And then it costs more to replace or to repair them a lot of times than to just replace it. We just had a friend, had a top of the line refrigerator, was 5 years old, and it died. And the guy came out and said, I can't fix it. So I don't know how many thousand. I think she said they just bought a new, I can't tell her, she won't listen to me. But I think it was almost 3,000 that they bought a, brand new big refrigerator freezer again. But
Frank,
I like the old stuff.
Yeah. Frank Pacheco was teaching a class with us recently, and he was talking about this Cafe, General Electric brand Cafe model, real high-end refrigerator freezer combination, and it was $7,000. And just after the warranty expired, it had a refrigeration leak, and it was going to cost $1,000 for Frank to take out the old line, put in the new line, evacuate any refrigerant that was there, and recharge with refrigeration. I mean, it was a laborious job. $1,000 to fix it. Now, if you think about it, $1,000 to fix a refrigerator. Used to be able to buy a whole refrigerator for $300, right? Well, now this really complex one, this sophisticated one that the customer bought, was $7,000. So the customer decided to spend $1,000 to fix it, and it seems like a lot of money to me. But then again, to replace it would be another, I don't know, maybe more than $7,000 because it was, many years old. Maybe I'm thinking between 6 and 7 years old. So I really think that the older units, the more simple units, are absolutely, positively the way to go. And, I was driving to the big city with Mrs. Finelli yesterday, and we were in my old pickup truck. It's a 2001 6-cylinder Chevrolet two-wheel drive. So it's not even 4-wheel drive, with a 5-speed manual transmission. And I was thinking, I can hear the engine. I can feel the engine. I'm shifting the car. I am in control of which gear I'm in. I'm in control of the clutch, the brake, the accelerator, all those things. And I'm actually driving the car. It's not driving me. I mean, I actually have to work to get this thing to go uphill, downhill, all those things. And you really have to pay attention. But today, I don't think that is the case. I think the vehicles are so complex, they can steer you between the center line and the right hand line on the road. So if you veer off a little bit, it'll correct for you. I mean, wow, that doesn't seem like a lot of fun to me. It seems like you're really not in control. And the life expectancy of that Chevrolet engine, I was watching some documentaries on some really great engines, and those old pushrod engines, the ones that weren't really high performance engines, that were not overstressed, not trying to make more and more and more horsepower and torque out of the same size cubic inch displacement, year after year, more and more horsepower at the same block. Those older engines that were not stressed last a really long time. And, mine's got over 250,000 miles on it. And I'm thinking that's my new truck. So, I don't want the newer products because I just flat out don't trust them. And I was thinking, if I were, going to hop in a vehicle and go to Virginia, would I trust any vehicle to get me to Virginia and back? And I don't know if I would. I'm not talking about, our old clunkers. I'm talking about any vehicle because they're so darn complex. And, a newer one is so complex. So we just want to, I really like the older equipment by far. I was talking to a guy about computers, and he was telling me he has an older computer. And I said, I think mine are older than that. And that's what we're broadcasting right here, right now with those older computers. And, they're pretty darn stable. The computers are. And if they fail, I'll just, replace the hard drive, or I'll replace the, that little button battery, the CMOS battery, and keep chugging along. I'm thinking the computers are over 15 years old. I guess that's an antique in the computer world. Cathy, back to you.
Yeah, I think you're right, Vince. I think the older ones are better. We had a refrigerator that we bought when we moved in here, and it was a Whirlpool, and it was just out of warranty. It was like 3 months or 3 years and like 3 months, and the warranty was 3 years on it. And we had the same thing. The guy came out and took one look at it, and he goes, "Well, it's going to be too expensive to fix." But I got the feeling he didn't even want to do it. It must be a job that they just don't really want to do. And then he was like, "Well, there's no guarantee if I replace the Freon in it that it's going to work." And so that's when we got this older Whirlpool. I think it's real similar to yours, Vince, but I often wondered, even with that, would it have been worth it to fix it based on the fact of the cost of the new one? Maybe it is in that case worth it to fix it.
Well,
but,
it all depends on the
it depends.
It depends on the design. So if it's the particular design that Frank was repairing had a refrigeration tube that was submerged into a tray of water, which was the condensation from the defrost cycle. And so the manufacturer, GE, thought, well, there's some heat in this refrigeration tubing because half of the refrigeration closed loop is hot and the other half is cold. So use the hot half to kind of encourage the water in the tray that would be from the defrost cycle that would drip down into this tray to the warmer water would evaporate faster. And so, let's use the energy to get that water to evaporate, but it caused the line to rust or corrode and then leak the refrigerant. So it was a good idea, but bad application of a good idea. And so it depends. If it's a good old model that's really well designed, then yeah, it makes sense to fix it. But if it's a good old well designed model, it probably wouldn't need repairs very often anyway. And so that refrigerator that you ended up buying, that Whirlpool side by side, is the same model, I believe, that we had when we were in Virginia, and it's outstanding. The door hinge is good. The plastic is thicker. Everything's better. And that design was around for like at least 20 years. I'm talking about the compressor, the evaporator, the condenser, all that. And it just worked and worked and worked. But, you change models and, the accountants get involved and they want more profits because the CEO wants more profits. I don't think Whirlpool's the same company it used to be. I don't think so.
Vince, I think you're right, because I think when I talked to you about it a few years ago, I believe you said it was the design. So now that I think about it, that's exactly what happened. Is it rusted out, and then all the is it the Freon? Is that what it is,
yes,
Vince, that
yes.
they put in there? That all rusted out,
mm-hmm.
and so then it quit working. So you're right. That's, now that I think about it, that's what it was.
I was looking at some of the older equipment, and I have a kilowatt meter. In class, you can get those. You can buy them on eBay if you want. It's KILL dash the letter A, kill A dash watt, W-A-T-T. You get these meters, and it will tell you the voltage of a receptacle. And so you plug this little module into a wall outlet, and it has a display, and it'll tell you the voltage. If it has a receptacle built into it, so you plug it into the wall, and then you can plug a coffee maker into it, and then hit the little button that tells you how many watts are being used. It'll tell you how much electricity in terms of kilowatts are being used over time. So, for example, I wanted to know this morning, making coffee with a Black & Decker 12-cup coffee maker, how much electricity does that use to brew coffee and let it run for about maybe 10 minutes? Well, it costs 1.5 cents. Okay, that's how much electricity it uses. And it's a great tool for that. Well, I checked the older model chest freezers, like a 20 cubic foot chest freezer, and it uses twice as much electricity as a brand new upright 20 cubic foot freezer. This is all freezer, both the chest freezer and the upright. And the reason is the newer models have, and I'm talking like 10-year-old or 8-year-old newer, maybe I should say it a different way. Comparing a 1980s model chest freezer to a 2015 model upright freezer, the new upright freezer, same capacity, will use about 1/2 the electricity. 1/2. Now, why is that? Because the insulation is better in the new ones, and the compressor is smaller in the new ones. That's why. Will it last as long? I don't think so. I don't think the new one will last as long. But it uses less electricity. So what's happening is people are being drawn in by two things: features and electric consumption. That's what they're being drawn in by. So when the salesman says, yeah, this uses half the electricity, people's eyes light up and they go, that sounds great to me. But I don't think it'll last I don't think it's going to last 40 years. I just don't think so. I can't prove it. I'll have to wait another 40 years to find out, but I don't think it's going to last as long. So I think the 5-minute university lesson there is, if you can get an older unit, like a refrigerator or freezer, and it works and it's not banged up and it's been well taken care of, and the coils have been vacuumed, so the compressor has not been overstressed, it might make sense to buy one of those for $100 as compared to a new one for $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000. Cathy, Joann Fabrics, we talked about them, shutting down completely. It's more than just a chain store shutting down. That is indicative of people's preferences, as I see it. I think people are moving away from being craft-minded, doing things, working with their hands, making things, sewing. It used to be a joy for young women, all women, to sew. I mean, mending because you have to, that's different. But making dresses, it used to be a challenge and a joy, and there'd be, a smile, a bunch of smiles when the dress was finished, or the jacket or the shirt. A completed project that took planning and effort and skill. But that's going away. So my question for you, Cathy, is, do you know anyone, any of your girlfriends, who still sew?
Just one.
Yep.
And she was a high school friend of mine, is a high school friend of mine. She still sews. Vince, the problem that I see is, first of all, there's a time element. There's a cost element. It used to be more beneficial. I remember when I was in high school, I took home ec. I made like jumpers and slips and shorts and easy things like that, things with elastic that when I was beginning to sew, and it was much cheaper to sew. Now with the problem, the cost of fabric is so expensive. When I started sewing, there were all the factories down in North Carolina, that the furniture industry, the the fabric was made down there. And it was like Dan River was one. And the cotton, if you felt that and used it today, I made like a few things out of it, placemats and things with the cotton. And the cotton is still in good shape today. Now when you buy clothes, it's made in all across the world. A lot of it's made in China. It doesn't hold up. It's thin, it's flimsy, it pills, it rips, it fades. So that's, in my opinion, Vince, it was kind of a slow-moving thing that happened. It's still economical for me because I have fabric, I have supplies. But if I had to go out today and say I wanted to make a dress, I'm sure I could probably I could buy it probably cheaper than what I could make it for. If not, it'd be the same price. Now, yes, you don't have the satisfaction of the color, the style, and all that. That's a lot of what I used to like was the creativity. I could go and say, oh, I want this blue fabric, and I like this dress. I can't find it in the store, but I can make it myself. But it's not that way, and it really is kind of sad because even if you don't make everything, Vince, you can still mend and make basic things and save money.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Cathy's with us, and I was looking back at the notes and for today's class, and I mentioned moving hay, and Bam, neither Bam nor I would take $5,000 for that trailer that I paid $1,500 for 35 years ago, and the truck, 1999 Dodge pickup truck with a 318 engine, gasoline engine, nothing special. It's 26 years old. That's pretty old for a vehicle, right? And I asked him if he would take $5,000 for that, and he said no, and I said neither would I. So we're in total agreement. And so just one more data point on that. So I know that we could buy a trailer for $4,000 that would be the same length, but it probably would not be anywhere near as heavy nor as dependable, but it'd be the same length. And nowhere near as well made. So that's one thing. The other thing is I looked up the value of a 1999 Dodge pickup truck, a Ram 1500 with a 318 engine. According to the internet, it's worth $500 to $2,466. And Bam and I both said we wouldn't take twice as much as the high price, So you go to sell it and it's worth $2,466. I wouldn't take twice as much for it. So what I'm saying, class, is that back to older products are better. This truck is heavy. It's durable. I mean, it is a tank. And why get rid of it for something new? It makes no sense at all. So if you don't have a big ego and you don't mind driving an older vehicle and you don't mind your friends looking at you like, boy, you drive an old piece of junk. If you don't mind that, you'll be way better off, probably in the long run. That was one thing. And then Joanne Fabrics, Joanne, it's a new name for Joanne Fabrics. What happened? And Cathy, we talked about, she has one friend who still sews. And it looks like it was a time issue. Is that right, Cathy? People just don't have the time.
Yeah, and I think the cost and the fabric is not as good. It's one thing if you're going to wear something occasionally, but let's say you wanted to make a dress or a pair of slacks and they just don't hold up. Why would you spend that kind of money and the time if maybe after 6 months or a year the fabric is sagging or, a lot of it I've noticed too, Vince, I can't get stains out like I used to. And I think it's the fabric. I used to just, you pre-treat it, it comes out. So I don't know what they're doing to it differently. I don't know if it's more polyester or something that they're adding to it or spandex or something. I'm not sure. But
I'm glad you mentioned. that. So I mentioned, class, that I had this wonderful experience with Amazon to ultimately get 72 T-shirts. and they're about $70 for 72, and I got them, and so first thing I did was put them in the washing machine. I put 6 of them in at a time. I thought, okay, let's try 6. See how this works. Cathy, I am soaking wet wearing these T-shirts. I mean, I am drenched. There's a ring of sweat on my, from my neck down to the upper part of my chest and my back, just wearing these T-shirts. I'm thinking, what happened? Am I different? And then I said to Mrs. Finelli, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So I changed the shirt and I put on an older 100% cotton T-shirt. Okay. These were sold as heavyweight cotton, Gildan brand on Amazon, and they're 50% polyester, 50% cotton. I put on a 100% cotton T-shirt, and I'm not soaking wet. I am not perspiring like to that point. Same day, same work, same everything, just a different, older T-shirt. A heavyweight cotton that actually breathes. So the material is different, Cathy. And you're right about the stains. The stains used to come out. You could, and would you share with our class your recipe for getting stains out? If you get grease stains on your clothing or your husband and you're out there working in the shop or the garage and working on equipment, what is your formula? Because it's a great idea. I love it.
Well, I forget the website that I found it on. It's a lady whose husband's a farmer. And, of course, anybody that works outside, you get grease stains and grass stains and all that. This works really well I found it to work for a lot of stains, mostly grease and dirt and grass. But all you do is you take baking soda. I use like a shallow dish. Pour some baking soda in there. You don't have to worry about proportions. Just, let's say, half a cup. Because you can put a lid on it, and it will still stay moist. So if you're going to do it, and you're going to do wash in the next couple days, you can put the lid on it. It stays fairly moist. Then you can squirt some Dawn in there, dish soap. Stir it up. You want to make like a paste. So once it gets thick and pasty, you can add a little water if you need to, if it's too thick. And it does tend to get kind of thick, so you maybe add, a teaspoon or something. Just, you'll see the consistency. And then I lay it out on my counter or on the washer. I have a top-loading washer, so I lay it out on that. And then you can use a soft brush, like a toothbrush or something like that, a soft, any kind of I don't know about a fingernail brush. That might be a little rough, but like a toothbrush or any kind of a brush you have that's got soft bristles. And you just put it on there. You take a spoon and put that paste on there, and then take the brush and just work it in. And sometimes I add a little water if it feels like it's just not getting into the fabric. I'll just drizzle a little water on it with a spray bottle or something like that. And then you work it in really good, and then you just let it set at least 15 minutes. So a lot of times when I'm doing my laundry, I will sort everything, and I lay it out and make sure there's no stains on it. And then I put everything in baskets, like whites, permanent press, jeans, dark clothes, whatever. So then everything has a chance to let that pre-spot work well. And my husband had some old T-shirts that he wore cutting grass and working out in the barn or the garage. I had the same thing. I have a bad habit. Even though I throw an apron on, I'll still sometimes get like raspberry stains on or cooking oil or something when I'm in the kitchen. And Vince, they all came out. I was very impressed. I might have had one or two, and these are stains that had been there a while. Now, most of my clothes I hang outside, but I know some of them, because in the winter sometimes I have to do a load. I need it right now, or something happens where I have to dry. I know some of them were set by the dryer, and that's exactly what she said. She goes, I know a lot of these are set by the dryer, and so that works really well. And then I just took it was like a cottage cheese container, but a little shorter, and I just put the lid on it, and it stayed moist. So I keep it right there on my washer. But the other thing I have used in the past that does tend, sometimes when you get a really nasty stain, is just glycerin. You could find it in like the pharmacy section. Sometimes you have to ask the pharmacist. Sometimes it's like with the mineral oil or that kind of thing. It's hard to find where it is. But I bought 2 or 3 bottles of glycerin, and sometimes just working that glycerin in, especially like a greasy old stain, it must break it down a little bit. So that's another recipe. And the other one, Vince, is if you have whites, like let's say you get like an old stain or a rust stain or something on them, I use lemon juice, squeeze lemon juice on it, lay it out like on my patio table, lay it in the sun. I kind of take something to hold it down so the wind doesn't blow it away. Leave it in the sun all day, and a lot of times the stains are gone. Now, I haven't used this baking soda Dawn recipe on whites yet, but I will to see if it works on that too. But then obviously after the lemon sets in there, you'll have the lemon stain, so you have to wash it again to get that lemon stain out. But a lot of times just the sun itself will lift those white stains. So that's my recipe, Vincent. It does work. So I hope it helps a lot of people.
Yeah. Cathy, I've done half of that. I haven't done all of it, but I've done the Dawn. If I have a grease stain, and typically I'll be using red grease, which is like a synthetic grease, and it will spread out really quickly on a fabric like blue jeans. But if I use molybdenum disulfide or moly grease, MOLY, it's black, and it's really, really difficult to get out. So what I found, and I'd love to hear your take on this, is how do you wait? I mean, if you get that grease on an article of clothing, do you treat it right away, or is it okay to wait?
I would treat it right away if you can. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's a T-shirt that you're like, okay, I wear this out in the garage anyway, and I'm not going to change T-shirts all day. But like, let's say it's a nicer shirt, you were eating something, or you shook something up and it splattered on your shirt. Obviously, the quicker you can get to something like spaghetti sauce or something like that and get the stain out right away, I would do it if you can. If you can't, sometimes at the end of the day, I'll notice something on my clothing or my husband's clothing, and then I will just treat it. I'll lay it on the washer, put that on there, and then wash it the next day. Because you're getting it in, wet it good, getting it into the fabric. So the quicker you treat it, the better. But this seems to be working pretty well for things that are set. But
okay, how about,
if I can, I treat them. Yeah.
Okay. How about, I believe you mentioned Dawn. Well, okay. How about Palmolive? How about Members Mark dishwashing liquid? Have you found any difference among them? Is there one that's better, or two just as good as each other, and one almost as good? What are your thoughts?
Well, I haven't done head-to-head comparison with the Palmolive or the Members Mark. Dawn seems to be the best. Now, I will tell you, when I go to Sam's or Costco, it's called professional or commercial grade or whatever. There's something different about the bottle. I went to one of my other stores. It was either Aldi or Kroger, and I ran out, and I thought, oh, I need Dawn. I'm right here. I'm going to get it. It was not the same. It did not wash the dishes as well. It didn't cut the grease as well. So what I did was I took that out because I was so discouraged, and I just put it in a little pump that you wash your hands with. I put it in there. I thought it's good enough to wash hands. And then I went and got the professional grade for my dishes and my laundry. There is a difference. Like I said, I felt like I had to use a lot more Dawn with that other one. And it just said Dawn. It didn't say, like environmentally, whatever, or it didn't have the professional, though, the maximum strength on it. And I think that was the difference. It must be more concentrated or have something else in it.
Yeah.
But did you do the Members Mark comparison?
Yes, I did. And
okay.
What I found with Members Mark is that I decant the the big 90-ounce jug. I decant that into a more manageable, maybe I'm thinking 12, 24-ounce, something like that size. That's easy to handle at the kitchen sink. So I leave it right on top of the kitchen sink because we use it like many, many, many times during the day. So I don't put it under the kitchen sink-based cabinet. I leave it right on the sink. And what I find is that the Members Mark turns to a jelly and actually blocks off the opening of the squeeze spout on the small bottle, whereas Palmolive and Dawn do not. So it actually dries, and it kind of seals the opening of the spout, because I don't put the cap back on the spout. I just leave the cap off the spout. And what I do, we have a tool bucket in our kitchen sink, and it's a plastic bucket. It was probably kind of a heavier grade bucket that's used maybe for like a large container of cottage cheese, that kind of thing. And so we put water in there, and as I'm filling it, I just take the spout of the dishwashing liquid while the warm water's running over it, filling up the container, for the knives, the forks, and the spoons, and I just rinse off the cap or the spout with the water as I'm filling up the little bucket. But what I find is that even the Members Mark, even doing that multiple times a day, the Members Mark detergent, the liquid detergent, kind of dries up in the spout. So it's not the same. It really is not the same. And there's another one, and I don't know which one it is, but it's called Platinum, like 4X, meaning it's got 4 times the dynamite as the other. And it is different. It's better. Yeah. It really is. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yep, I think it's Platinum, and then there was the other one that there was 2 of them, Professional, or maybe it's the same one. I'll at the break, Vince. I'll go check it. But
okay. Now the green one, Vince, the green Palmolive, it seems to be okay. The blue, I guess that's Dawn, is okay. But the red one, which is Ajax, I was so disappointed. Members Mark or Sam's had a sale on the big jugs of Ajax, so I bought 4 of them and had them shipped in, and I ended up calling Ajax saying, like, what's up, guys? I mean, this is lousy. It takes way, way, way more. It's thinner. It's just, they said, most so sorry, we're going to give you a refund. And I wasn't really looking for that, but I don't want to use it either. So we have it, and I've never used it. Oh, I've just tried it, but I was really disappointed. Have you ever tried Ajax?
Not for a long time. And there again, Vince, if, what you could use it for is you could just use it for, like you're washing your hands, like dilute it in one of them little pump things. Yeah. And that way, okay, I can use it and you use it up.
Yeah.
And you talked about putting something in the sink. I do that a lot, Vince. I'll have like either a small pan and I'll put a couple drops of soap in there. And like when I'm in the kitchen and let's say you use something sticky, like with peanut butter or something, rather than sit there, I just put it in that pan, all the silverware, small things. Yeah. That way everything is soaked. I don't have to, for me, it's time and the effort. Like when I'm ready to wash it or put everything in the dishwasher, it's pretty much, I don't have to stand there and scrub everything or let it dry on there, or like oatmeal, to have oatmeal on a spoon.
Right.
You can rinse it a little bit, but I just throw it in that dish or that pan and let it set. Or if I got a little water in the sink, and then it makes it so much easier to just wash it then or put it in the dishwasher.
Right. So I use a fingernail brush and the bucket of, small bucket with a small amount of liquid detergent in there to loosen the oatmeal, the eggs, scrambled eggs, the peanut butter, all those things, jelly. And it makes it so much easier. Just put it in there, and then later on when you're going to do the dishes, you can, everything comes off so easily under warm water, even cool water. And one thing that we do, class, is we don't open the dishwasher door like a million times a day. or even 500,000 times a day. We open it judiciously because Frank has told us that in our case, we have a steel hinge on our dishwasher door, so it can take opening and closing. But the newer ones have a real thin, like string, and you can see it. Open the dishwasher door, and you'll see at the bottom hinge point there's like a string that breaks all the time, and they wear out really quickly. I mean, they're designed to break, and they do, and it's an expensive proposition to fix it. So the plan is to open the dishwasher door only when necessary, and when you wash the dishes, rinse the dishes off, put them in the dishwasher. You can use warm water while you do that. You bring warm water up to the sink. Now your sink and dishwasher are side by side, and then you hit the start button for the dishwasher, and the warm water's already there, or the hot water's already at the dishwasher, so you don't waste electricity heating up all that water in the piping, the plumbing from your hot water heater to your dishwasher. And, in many cases, it might be 50 feet. It might be more than that. So it's a lot of wasted heat that if you batch your dishwashing process by pre-rinsing in the kitchen sink, bringing the hot water right to the kitchen sink so you'll have the hot water right there for the dishwasher. Batching will save you energy. It'll save you time, and it works really, really well. And Cathy, we set ours to no heat dry. So I believe that the heating element in our dishwasher has lasted, roughly 20 years because we batch the dishes, we load the heavy items on the top shelf in the back, not in the front, which makes it easier on the slides and the rollers. And we have a full dishwasher, not over full, but full, and no heat dry. I believe all those things have contributed, and bringing the warm water up to the dishwasher by rinsing the dishes first. I believe that all has contributed to a really long life of our Kenmore 20-something-year-old dishwasher. Those are my thoughts. Cathy, any comments about batching?
Yeah, Vince, I do the same thing. If I need to run the dishwasher or even use hot water, like for the kitchen sink, I always have a bucket. And I fill it up, and I have a gallon jug in the house. So, okay, if I fill that up, or I'll bucket. And then it is so dry here, Vince. Our grass is pretty much brown. We haven't had rain in a long time, and I'm watering from the pond right now. My garden, I went to go pull out a weed in my strawberry patch, and it's just like powder now. So I really don't want to lose my berries and my raspberries and my perennial things that come back. So anyway, I use that for watering, either the bird bath or just use it for rinsing if I have to. And then I do the same thing. And you and Frank talked about putting the heavy things in the back, which makes perfect sense because especially that top rack, you put all the weight on the front, like casserole dishes, that's got to put a lot of strain. And the same thing, Vince, I don't use heat. There's enough heat in there that it dries pretty good. And I think that if you use the heat, especially if you put like plastic things at the bottom, I think it warps them or kind of maybe causes them to crack a little quicker or wear out a little quicker. So I don't put any plastic on the bottom. I put it on the top, and it normally is in the front. And sometimes, Vince, what I do is like at the very end of washing the dishes, there's certain things the water never comes out, like some of those Rubbermaid plastic lids. I'll just take them out, and I have like a little rack or a little mat, one of them drying mats, and I'll just set them out, and they knock the water off a little bit. Things that I know is like some grooves that's never going to come out, and then I dry them myself or let them dry, and then the rest of it is just pretty much dry. That's
exactly what we do here, Cathy. So, class, you can save money with electricity, and if you want to see the plumbing that's involved, if you have a basement and you go out to your hot water heater, look at your hot water heater, look at the pipes coming out of your hot water heater, and then follow them all the way to your kitchen sink, and you'll see all of that plumbing. And if it's galvanized or if it's copper, you've got to heat all that copper or the iron piping. If it's plastic, you still have to heat it because the water going through will heat the plastic plumbing. And it's a lot of wasted energy. So if you batch, you'll save money in a lot of different ways. Not only your electric bill, but the wear and tear on the element that heats the hot water. So there are these features in dishwashers, and you can have delay. And we've got a button that says 2-hour delay, 4-hour delay, 6-hour delay. Well, if we did that, if it started off in the middle of the night, all by itself, it would have to bring hot water all the way from the hot water heater over to the dishwasher. It's way, way, way inefficient. Now, if you read the internet, they'll tell you, well, if you have a lower cost electricity in the middle of the night, that's what you should be doing. Maybe. It depends. I mean, you have to figure out what the electric, cost per kilowatt is and how much water you might be using. So think about that, and you should be able to save some funds. When we come back, I've got a question about what do you do with spaghetti that has bugs in it? What do you do? And we have an answer for that. And I'm pretty sure you're going to find that if you buy spaghetti today, if you have some from the COVID era, it probably has bugs in it. We'll be right back. Years ago, spaghetti used to be able to stay cool and dry and have no problems for years and years and years and years, like 7 years. And during the great genocide, COVID, the manufacturers of spaghetti, and I don't care what brand we're talking about, every brand that I've tried, Berea, American Beauty, Aldi's, even Walmart's house brand, they all got bugs from the inside of the spaghetti strands, and these bugs would pop out and they would try to eat their way through the cellophane or the plastic window in the spaghetti box, through the cardboard box. And so the question was, what do we do with the pasta that has bugs in it? Now, if it just has one bug in it, maybe you might want to grin and bear it and just cook it. But if it has more than that, you might, if you're desperate, I mean, under normal circumstances, most people just throw it away. Or maybe take the bug out and cook it up for the dogs and mix it with the dog food, give it to extend the dog food. But if you have a lot of bugs, what do you do? Well, I took the boxes of spaghetti and I threw it in the outdoor wood stove, that heats our house, in the summer, it heats our domestic hot water. So why throw away those BTUs of energy when you can do that? But then that comes to the next point. So yesterday, or the day before, the trash company didn't pick up our trash. And so it's once a week. And why didn't they pick it up? Well, because the guy was grading the road, and we live on a dirt road. And so he's got 5 miles, and he tears up the whole 5 miles, and the trash truck couldn't get, to anybody on our road. So it wasn't the trash guy's fault. It was a combination of grading the road, the county road grading guy, and trash truck trying to be on the road at the same time. So the question now is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you can't get rid of your trash? What are you going to do? And that could happen. It could happen because here there was a new trash company, and the driver thought that he wanted to take a nap instead of running the route. Literally, he would drive off on a dirt road and take a nap for hours, and then go back to or go to the landfill, dump the load, which was a partial load because he skipped half the route. Well, our village was livid, and it was going on for weeks and weeks and weeks, months. And there was the Attorney General in the state of Missouri going after this trash company for a health hazard, all right? Not picking up the trash for months. Well, that's been resolved. But the point is, what are you going to do if you can't get rid of your trash? What are you going to do? So it's incumbent upon you to be ahead of this, I think. And one way to get ahead of it is to get a 55, if you can, if you live in a suburbia or have more land than that, pretty much like most of your USA Prepares instructors, you can get a burn barrel. and this would be a 55-gallon barrel, and some metal. They come in metal and plastic. Get the metal one, and you can set it up on some blocks, like bricks, and off the ground, and you can literally put burnable trash, not plastic, paper boxes and things like that, in there, and set it on fire and reduce your trash load. And that can be done. And I suggest you consider doing that, because how else are you going to get rid of trash? And then the other thing is, as you, I rinse out cans. So if I'm open a can of corn or soup or something like that, I will rinse out the can so before I put it in the trash, so that it doesn't bring bugs. And the other thing I'll do is I'll make the trash as small as possible. So if I have 3 different cans, let's say a can of corn and a can of condensed tomatoes in a little can, I'll rinse out each can, put one can inside the other, and make the space of the trash as small as possible. And instead of throwing out a whole box, if I were going to throw out a box, I would tear it up into little pieces, so it would take less space. Not little microscopic pieces, but smaller pieces, so they would fit in the trash. Actually, what I do is I put it in the outdoor wood furnace. But here's an example. Say you have an oil filter box. Okay, so you take out the oil filter, put it on your car. Now you have the box. What do you do with the box? If you just throw the box out the way it is, it's going to take up a lot more room in the trash than if you tear off each side of it and lay it flat. So just a thought, Cathy.
Yeah, it's something to think about, Vince. If you can't get rid of it, right now I have places when I go into town that I take recycling. It's pretty much on my way to go. It's even at we have like a metro park, and they have recycling centers. So that's not, that's probably 10 miles from my house. So I can go there also and take care of it. But I do the same thing. I'll consolidate, like if I have let's say a coffee can, and I put another can in it, and I consolidate it for space. Same thing with the garbage. I really try not to throw anything away that I can, like any produce I have, eggshells, that all goes in my compost. I don't have any of that. And I'm sure you do that with your chickens, and you don't have a lot of that left over either, Vince. But
yeah, right.
I do the same thing.
And that was one of the things on my list for today. Chickens. You might want to consider getting some chickens, class, if you can protect them, because dogs will kill them. Neighbor's dog will love to kill your chickens. But if you can protect them, and if you have like a dog pen, 6-foot-high chain link dog pen, and it's big enough, and you have a house to protect the chickens at night, that would be kind of a neat thing. And if you can let them free range, if you have enough property to let them free range, it's a great way to go. So they love all kinds of things. So if you have some tomatoes that are not good enough for you to eat, chickens will love them. They love lettuce. They love a lot of the leftovers. We don't let them clean the plates. If we were going to have spaghetti or something like that, we don't let them clean the plates. But if we're making salad, if we're cabbage, they love the greens. They absolutely love them. And so you'll find out that if you have chickens, you'll get free eggs or almost free eggs. They eat the worms. They eat the bugs. They will spread out. If you were to dump some grass clippings in a small pile, they'll go in there and spread it out for you. They root around. They look for bugs that naturally show up under piles of things like leaves, and they're wonderful little animals, and they might last about 4 years, maybe a little bit more. On average, they might lay 2/3 or 3/4 of one egg per day. So what that really means is it might take 5 days to get 3 or 4 eggs. And some chickens lay 1 egg a day for almost all year. So I think for $10 you can buy some chickens, $10 a piece. Get some chicken feed, set up a place for them to be safe, and they will be the hardest working animal on your farm or on your place. Absolutely the hardest working. So if you want to be reincarnated and you have a choice, you might not want to be a chicken. They really have a tough life. I mean, imagine giving birth every day. That's what they do. Cathy, any comments about chickens?
Oh, great idea, Vince. And the fresh eggs are wonderful. And like you said, you're not wasting any of that food. It's back to growing and what we have, and having it right there. You know, there's a sense of security that you have. And Vince, back to the spaghetti. A lot of times I either undermake it or overmake spaghetti. So I always think, oh, I need more. And then you'll have all this spaghetti in your refrigerator. But Vince, you can freeze it. It freezes really well. Believe it or not, it's a wonderful lunch. Like if let's say you have enough for like you and your wife, then you can add like olive oil, you can add pesto. If you have a little sauce, you can. Sometimes my husband just takes butter and salt and pepper, maybe like basil or something, and he just warms it up for lunch that way if I have leftover. So you can freeze it. You don't have to throw it away. Vince, I do have one other topic that I would like to maybe help people if they have a dog that has problems with either incontinence or like maybe a bowel movement, like they can't control. My dog is 14 years old. She's a black lab. And occasionally now, when she's sleeping, she doesn't know, she'll have like a little accident on her bed. A lot of times it's just a small, because I think she doesn't feel it, I guess. So I went to my chiropractor, and he does vet. He's like an animal chiropractor on a certain day of the week. So what he told me to do, and this hopefully will help people, is, and my dog doesn't care. I can pretty much do anything to her. But when she stands outside, or like say they're standing waiting to come in the house or go out of the house, you take their tail and you want to create some traction. So at the base of their tail, you gently pull, and sometimes you can feel like their spine will ripple. You can sort of feel like, oh, they're trying to pull back. So you gently pull their tail for 5 seconds and release. Do it like 4 or 5, 6 times. You want to do it 20, 30 seconds. And what that does is it pulls the spine, and it kind of opens up their sensory nerves down by the base of their tail. And it opens that up. And so he did work on her yesterday, and he told me about this before, but I wasn't doing it right. I was only doing it like once. I didn't realize I was supposed to pull it and then release and pull it and release, and it opens up those nerves and those discs at the, like kind of toward the base of their tail. So I'm hoping that this helps fix the problem with her. It doesn't happen that much, maybe once a week. I think she's just older and she doesn't feel it because she's never had this problem her whole life. So hopefully anybody that has an animal that has this issue, that might help them. So
that's a great way.
My 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a great way to help your animal. And a farmer told me that if you have cows and you let them drink out of a cattle waterer, and the water is low, like ground level, which would be like them drinking out of a stream, they tend to poop while they're drinking. But if you raise up the water to where they have to actually step up a step, not a tall step, maybe just 6 inches, where their front legs are higher than, or their hooves are higher than their rear legs or hooves, they will not poop while they're drinking. So if you have cows, you might want to consider that. Cathy, I've been watching some documentaries and on YouTube, and these are narrated documentaries, and it has a really smooth, human-sounding voice. Some of them have different accents. Some are deeper in tone. Some are not deep. Some are in women's voices. But they're artificial. And the reason I know they're artificial is because they don't sound like we sound here on the radio. For example, we've mentioned this before. If it seems like someone writes text, they'll take like one image of something from like the 1800s, late 1800s, an old photograph, and they'll say, here's a documentary about this particular family, and they'll have a picture of the family. And that's the only thing that will be up in this documentary. And then it'll be a narration after that for maybe an hour. And it sounds perfect. It sounds like the guy doesn't cough, doesn't take a breath. But when it comes to, it's like AI is reading a script. And the script, when it comes to a period at the end of a sentence, the AI sees that and says, okay, I got to wait a little bit longer than the space between, or the time between words in the sentence. So if it comes up to a period, it just little extra pause. But it doesn't seem to know that MRS, as in Mrs., with a period after it, is not the end of a sentence. So it may say, Mrs. Jones, and you know when you hear that, or Dr. Jones, you know that is not natural human speech. So that's your first indication that this is AI. And so I was watching some of these documentaries about great automobile engines, great cars that never quit, which is a great exaggeration. And I found some mistakes. I mean, I know a little bit about cars and engines and makes and models and the design because I've opened them up and I've worked on them. And and I know a little bit about history because I do a lot of reading. So the documentaries on cars and history are not exactly right. They get the facts wrong. Or they'll show an image of a car and they'll say, this is a great Ford truck, and it'll be a Chrysler. It'll be a Dodge. It'll be a Chevrolet. It'll be the wrong image. Now, I don't know if these people who are making these things using AI are in a big hurry and they don't know the difference between a Ford and a Chrysler. I don't know what the reason is, but I know it's inaccurate. So just before the broadcast class started today, I typed in the following, quote, I typed it in a search engine, DuckDuckGo to be exact. Quote, is AI used in making documentaries, end quote. Here is the response. Yes, AI is increasingly used in making documentaries, helping with the tasks like transcribing interviews, searching for archival footage, and even generating visual content. However, its use raises ethical concerns about accuracy and the potential for misleading representations of history. That's exactly what I said. Okay, so it's fast, but it may not be correct. So, and then under doing a little more research, it says authenticity. The use of AI to create fake archival materials raises questions about the truthfulness of documentaries. Filmmakers must ensure that AI-generated content does not mislead audiences. Goes on to say historical integrity. Concerns exist that AI could distort historical records if not used responsibly. The Archival Producers Alliance has developed guidelines to address these issues and promote ethical practices. Now, the conclusion that they came up with, these are not my words, this is the internet saying it. Actually, this is AI saying it. Conclusion, while AI offers exciting possibilities for documentary filmmakers, it also necessitates careful consideration of ethical standards to maintain the integrity and trustworthiness of the medium. That's the problem. The problem is AI is misleading us in lots and lots of ways. So we're back to don't believe anything you hear, see, or read in any media, including right here at USA Prepares. So it's getting more and more difficult to find out the answers. If you do a search and you want to know, the capacity of a specific engine in terms of quarts of oil, you may get 7 different results. So which one's right? I think AI has been around way, way, way too long. It needs to be shut down immediately. Immediately. Before people go off half-cocked with bad information. And that goes to big tech is going to kill us all. It's not necessary. Nobody needs AI. Nobody. Nobody. Nobody needs an electric car. Nobody needs to fly 3 or 4 times as fast from New York to London. Nobody. Nobody needs to get to Las Vegas in a loop, hyperloop underground faster. Nobody needs to do that. So what is big tech doing? They're destroying. I'm talking about Amazon. I'm talking about Gates. I'm talking about Musk. All those multi-billionaires who have more money than they can say grace over. They don't need any more money. They don't need any more wealth. But at the same time, they're destroying our planet. And it's got to stop. We don't need any more satellites. Nobody needs to download a video just because they feel like it and do it in 1 minute or less. Nobody needs to do that. So the cost of all of this, AI, is going to heat up the atmosphere, use massive amounts of electricity, cause us to put more power lines in place that are going to cause more electromagnetic radiation that'll further kill us. It's got to stop. It's got to stop right now. Cathy's with us in Ohio. Class, there's a documentary you should watch. Consider it homework. It's on YouTube. It's about Amazon, and it's how did Amazon and Jeff Bezos get to be so powerful. And it's about an hour long, maybe a little bit longer. And it talks about the ruthlessness. It talks about competition. It talks about decimating Amazon's competition. And Amazon's growing. And at the expense of what? Amazon didn't grow without any casualties. So what are the casualties? Well, that'd be stores, brick and mortar stores. That would be the places you used to go to and look and feel and touch and see the prices and go buy. That was and malls, where young people would go into a mall and, hey, let's go to the mall. And then, didn't even need money, just go, or funds, just go to the mall and walk around and look and learn and be with, your peers. Who does that today? Malls are closing. And there are a lot of vacant malls. The anchors are closing at the end of the malls, which would be like, it'd be like Kohl's, be like Sears Roebuck and Company, J.C. Penney, Montgomery Wards. I mean, those stores have either closed or are closing, and there are plenty of stores that are closing. So the young people can't go to as many stores that we used to, and they don't have the opportunity as we did to work in those stores. Those entry level positions where you could be paid, minimum wage to make sandwiches, paid minimum wage to sell fabric at Joann, like my wife and Cathy have done, I believe, and sell auto parts behind the auto parts counter like I did. I don't think pump gas. So who pumps gas? I guess New Jersey is probably the only state that requires tenants to pump gas, but I used to pump gas. A lot of people who grew up in the 60s would work at a small gas station and pump gas. Well, that's all self-serve now, so you don't do that. There's no interaction with the gas station attendant. Nobody checks your oil unless you check it yourself, at the gas station. So a lot of things are broken, and who did it? Big tech. Big tech broke it. So instead of going to the movies, you just stream it in your house. Instead of going to the store, you just order it, and Jeff Bezos will send it to you. within a couple days, depending on how much you want to pay for shipping. And he's deceptive. He's very deceptive. It says your order qualifies for free shipping, $35 or more free shipping. And you go to checkout and it's $6.99 shipping. And then you go, whoa. So you have to click back and then, oh, there it is. Yeah, I must have missed that. You didn't miss it. It was kind of hidden from you. So then you click free shipping, then you get your free shipping. That's how you get to become a billionaire. Cathy, any comments about any of that?
Yeah, it's pretty deceptive, Vince. It's really kind of sad because I think the mom and pop stores were all put out of business between Amazon and like when Walmart came in. A lot of the stores out in my rural town, there's a Walmart probably 15 miles from us. When that came in, they closed. There's one grocery store that's hanging on, but all the other stores closed around it. There was a lot of vacancies, like the little strip mall areas that had mom and pop, stores there. It's really a shame. And, trying to meet somebody, Vince, I think it's a lot different. We were out more when we were kids. I mean, I'm sure growing up, you were like me. You went out and you didn't come on in the summertime till the streetlights came on. You played outside, you rode your bike, you went swimming, played ball, whatever it is that the kids did. And the only thing I can think of now is probably like, let's say if a young person got involved with maybe playing softball or volleyball, maybe a church group, work or school, because otherwise I think kids go to bars. That's like, oh, Friday night, let's go out and get something to eat or go to a bar and drink, which, my kids don't do, and I don't, but I think that's the place where kids go today. So. Yeah, and there are plenty of better things to do than go take your mind off reality, right? Cathy, what else did you have on your list for today? Well, Vince, the one thing, I was reading about food prices going up, and it's true, they have. And it was so you were talking about like AI and all that, and I was thinking of when you go online, and I have DuckDuckGo also, but when you go online to look it up, it's all the major things come up first, like your NPR, CBS, all those come up first. And I kind of take that with a grain of salt. I really want more of an independent reaction or information. So I think basically you have to dig a little bit more. So when I was thinking about like the food prices, I was like, how much have they gone up since 2019? And it's about 32%. That overall grocery prices went up. And I believe that. I believe that that's probably pretty true when you look at what you paid for like eggs or your flour or your sugar. Now, some things went up more, some things didn't. But like one thing for sure is going to go up. I think it kicked in like August 15th or 16th. Hershey said that they can't keep prices down. So basically what they're doing is they're shrinkflating their packages again. But they said it's really not tariffs. It's more the price that, like cocoa is $8,100 a ton now, and it's just gone up, and they had trouble with the sourcing the cocoa beans. So I know we can live without chocolate, but a lot of people do like chocolate. So that's one situation. And some of what I found out with this, it's not, here's some of the reasons, like it's the input cost, like the supply chain disruption. Sometimes they can't get it, and so the price will go up until they can get it. The source, some of it's droughts, some of it's storms. I mean, you look at the orange crop in Florida that was decimated, and now they're tearing out orange groves to put in housing and condos, which is really a shame. I mean, it's a shame that we have to lose our orchards there. You look at the drought, and beef is one. Coffee is another one with the drought. The cocoa beans. There was a problem with olives. So a lot of weather-related things have caused this too. We had bird flu. Take it with, sometimes I wonder if that was some was valid. I wonder if all of it was valid, but that is a portion with the chicken and the eggs. So basically, Vince, that's kind of where the prices are, and I think it goes back to what we've said a million times, try not to waste food. One of my things I'm doing every week is basically taking a lot of my stuff out of the refrigerator, things that got pushed to the back, and I'm incorporating them in a meal, or I'm freezing them. I just canned, last week I canned probably 40 jars of tomatoes, and I had a couple that didn't seal. So I went into my garden, I got 6 green peppers, and I used the canned tomatoes, and I made stuffed peppers. So I had the peppers, I had the onion, the only thing I needed was like the meat and the rice, but I had everything else there. So I used up those tomatoes rather than, I would have froze the leftover, but rather than have to freeze, I'm like, okay, let me use these up. So I think if you can get creative, like things that are plentiful right now, try to use those up, like your tomatoes and your peppers and garlic and all that. The other thing too is, I know that it's summer, we still have apples and peaches and things that are in season in a lot of part of our country. But once we get into winter, especially where I'm in the Midwest, you're not going to get fresh strawberries and blueberries and things. So the price is probably going to go higher than it is now. So I would say in that case, Vince, I would say watch for sales at your grocery stores. Or like for me, I have a Costco and a Sam's membership. I know Costco, I get like the wild blueberries there. I get, I can get frozen vegetables and frozen fruit. And a lot of times I really like that, Vince, because it's right there. Like let's say I want to make vegetable soup and I buy a big bag of mixed vegetables. Well, I can just take out 2 cups and I don't have to not that I wouldn't use fresh, but if I don't have fresh, I can just open it up and it's got peas and corn and carrots and green beans in there. So I can use that if that's my alternative, but I find that it's fresher and cheaper, especially with your berries. Those kinds of things really get pricey when you can't get them in season. So that's what I would urge people to do. Sometimes your stores will run them on sale, or you can get them at like another store. So anyway, Vince, that's where I'm finding that you just have to be smart. You don't waste anything. Take your time right now if you find sales. If you're somebody that likes to make applesauce or can or dehydrate, I'm going to dehydrate peppers. I've got more than I can use right now, so I'm going to start dehydrating those, and then I can use those throughout the winter. So I know you guys do the same, Vince, but
yeah. Cathy, also, I was just looking up butter. How long does butter, keep in the freezer? It's ridiculous. These guys are wrong. It says, butter can last in the refrigerator 1 to 3 months. Salted butter can last longer. But I was reading other posts that say, it could last, 6 months in the freezer. I think that's nonsense, Cathy. I've got butter in the freezer that's, I'm thinking 5, 6, 7 years old. And I had some this morning, just opened a box, and it's perfect. Have you gone that far with butter?
Oh, yeah. And I don't understand their reasoning on this, Vince. To me, I just look at it and go, if you have it in the freezer, especially like some things I've had vacuum sealed, when I cleaned out my freezer, I had ground beef from 2023. It was wrapped. It was in a food saver bag, and it was perfectly fine. There was no freezer burn. And for people to say you can only keep it 6 months, I guess if you just throw it in there in saran wrap and you don't do anything, then okay, I'm sure it'll degrade. But it's still edible. It's not the best way to do. I wouldn't do it like that unless I'm going to use it within a week or something. I might do it that way, but yeah, I don't understand.
We don't use a lot of butter, and so it's been in the freezer for years and years. And we'll take out 1 pound in quarters at a time, put it in the refrigerator, and then it might be in the refrigerator for a couple of months, while we slowly eat it, and it's perfect. And I'm talking about this is years and years and years old. It's not like we're trying to eat bad food. That's not it at all. It's just that it keeps way longer in its original packaging than the internet says that it will keep. That's the point. Cathy, we have a Black & Decker coffee maker, and Bam bought it years and years ago. And the first one he bought was $14.99, and they've been selling very much the same model that we've had for many, many years. So it went from $14.99. This is at Walmart. $14.99 to $21.99 to $24.99 to $29.99. Now it's $33.47. Now at the time that he bought it, he could have bought a white one, but he bought a black one. I'm not sure why. But here's what I want to tell the class: the black plastic appliances is a lot of the black plastic is recycled plastic. So it might be plastic coat hangers. It might be plastic bags. The bags might be white, blue, yellow, green, who knows what, all mixed together. And then you get some color of recycled plastic. And then this batch is not the same color as the next batch, So now they're all different colors. So the manufacturers of appliances add carbon black as a coloring agent to bring them all to the same color black. So now if you get Whirlpool or Black & Decker or KitchenAid, whatever it is, the same color black. Black is black in appliances because they color it to be black. The coloring agent is a known carcinogen. That's a problem. It's toxic. So now what do we do? Because we have all these black appliances. So the point is, if you have a choice going forward, maybe you ought to buy white. Maybe you ought to not buy black. So I looked up, okay, Black & Decker white 12-cup coffee maker. The same as the one that was $14.99 to $21.99 to $24.99 to $29.99 to $33.47. If you want a white one, very much like the black one, same size, $40.99. So it's more expensive. So obviously there's a difference between the white plastic and the black plastic. And I think it's because the white plastic is not recycled. That's what I think. Can't prove it though, not yet. So if you're going to buy an appliance and it's going to make coffee and it's going to be, putting hot water through something that you are going to consume, the ultimate product of, you probably ought to avoid black. And that's the 5-minute university lesson there. Cathy, any comments?
Well, I didn't know that they put that carbon in there, Vince. So I'm sure that it comes out, it leaches out.
Yeah, kind of like Teflon. Teflon, each time you cook, Teflon gets released into what you're cooking and you get a chance to eat it, and it's a forever chemical. And you really don't want it. So class, if you have a Teflon pan that has little chips in it and the Teflon's flaking off, you absolutely positively do not want to use it. You need to throw it away. You don't even want to use it for your dog's water. Okay? So what does that mean? That means, what do you cook in? There's only 2 things. One would be stainless steel. Well, 3 things. Stainless steel, glass, or cast iron. That's it, period. That's it. So if you have a plastic coffee mug and you want to reheat your coffee in the microwave oven, don't do it. Because you will be loosening some of those plastic molecules, and they will mix with your coffee and you'll get to drink it. So if you're going to use a microwave oven, you want to use ceramic or glass. If you're going to heat in it, never heat in plastic. And then, of course, that means, why would you buy one of those ready to microwave dishes for dinner? Why would you do that? Because you're going to be heating it in plastic. If you have to do that, if you have to have extruded food, pre-prepared food, I suggest and if you are going to heat it in a microwave oven, which I don't recommend, but if that's what you're going to do, put it in glass. Put it in a plate, it's a glass plate or some coated ceramic that's, designed for food. I would not heat in plastic, no matter what. Cathy, any comments?
Oh, I agree, Vince. I totally agree. There's stuff leaches out of the plastic, and you can see people that microwaved in a plastic container. It's all bubbled on the side. So that plastic went into their food. So,
yes.
No, I don't use the microwave for almost anything. Sometimes I use it to heat up, like, you can have one of them things that, like, if you put it on your arm or your shoulder, it's sore. Uh-huh. It's got, like, they tell you to microwave it. I use it for that. Very seldom do I use a microwave. I just don't, because when they used to say, "Oh, go nuke your food," they don't say that anymore. But that's exactly what you're doing.
We had some guests here in the good old days, and some of them would stop and buy Starbucks coffee or something like that, gas station coffee, and by the time they'd get here, they'd have the plastic lid on it, but the coffee would be half filled in the disposable cup. And it might be one of those paper type cups. It might be a styrofoam cup. It might be a paper cup that's plastic lined, real thin liner of plastic so the coffee doesn't leak through the sides. They take it and put it in the microwave oven. Like, what are you doing? I'm just heating up my coffee. And I go, you really don't want to do that, do you? Yeah, I do. And they put their face right up to the window of the microwave oven and watch it go round and round and round. That's beyond nuts. But, sometimes... Cathy, I'd be making enemies like 24 hours a day if I said everything that was on my mind. Right?
Yep.
So, class, you don't want to look in your microwave oven. If you're going to use it, you want to put it in the farthest corner of your kitchen away from where you're going to be working, for that minute or two that it's on, because they all leak. 100% of microwave ovens leak. 100%. Guaranteed. Those microwave oven doors are not does not make a Faraday cage. They absolutely leak. There's no question about it. All of them leak. So if you're going to have a microwave oven in your kitchen, put it in, distant from where your kitchen sink is and your counter and where your food prep area is, and then, put it in there and then hit the go button and then run away. Run away. And don't let your cats look up at it. Don't let your dogs look up at it. Get everybody away from it. And maybe it'll prevent you from getting cancer, maybe. Cathy, you were talking about QR codes. That was quite fascinating during the break. You were telling me about a deceptive, dishonest, fraudulent practice that is going on with the QR code labels. Can you please tell our class about that?
There's the little QR code when you go into the store. A lot of times you have to scan it, like if you want to find out more about it or download it. They said that sometimes people put a sticker over it, and then what it does is it takes your information and then obviously commits fraud and uses your information in whatever you have on your phone. They can use that and probably drain your bank account if you have all that information on your phone. So they said, be careful when you're looking at those QR codes. Make sure it's not a sticker over that code. Even if you have to take your finger, you could feel it. So that is what they said. And, it's kind of like those skimmers they've used at the gas stations or the ATMs. They look legit, but they're there. And you have to, that's one of the reasons it's more difficult. But when I buy gas, I just pay cash because I see so many videos of those skimmers on those gas pumps for credit cards.
We've been a victim of that. Bam went to buy gas at a gas station in Springfield, Missouri, and he put the card in and he got the gas. And then a few days later, our credit card was shut down. I called the credit. I went to buy something, gas, and I couldn't. Card was shut down. That means that explains why you should have multiple credit cards from different issuers. You might want to have a Discover and a Visa and a and a MasterCard class, MasterCard. So in case one of them gets shut down, you might have some other options in case you're traveling. But my credit card was shut down. I couldn't do anything. And so I called the credit card company. They said, were you in Kansas City? And I said, no. Anybody in your family in Kansas City? I said, no. So anyway, we used, our BAM used a gas pump that had a skimmer on it. And somebody tried to use our credit card in Kansas City, and the credit card company shut the card down, and our cards. So, and it's easy to fix. You just call them up. And you tell them what happened. They say, okay, well, it's still shut down. We shut it down, and it's going to be shut down. And within 5 to 7 to 10 days, you'll receive your new credit cards. So now you don't have a credit card for up to 10 days because some thug tried to steal from you. And I'm looking forward to the day when I can sit in the arena and watch these thugs get the business end of Louisville sluggers for their crimes. It's got to stop. It absolutely has to stop. And until punishment is meted out and people can see that there's a real reward at the end of their theft, and it's meeting a Louisville slugger face to face, I think it's going to continue. There really needs to be punishment meted out for these crimes. And I don't believe it's going to stop until effective punishment is meted out. And so it's a nuisance. These people are stealing from us, and it absolutely has to stop. President Trump, you might want to take a page out of what we say here at USA Prepares. Cathy, we got 5 seconds left.
Yeah, I agree, Vincent. It's gotten a lot worse in the last few years. Something needs to be done.
Well, the answer is let the punishment meet the crime. Cathy, thank you so much. We'll see you same time next week right here on Lawrence Radio and Global Star Radio and the Ron Gibson channel on BitChute and Odyssey. Thank you so much, class.